We begin our work on any garment with designing it. That is, creating its sewing pattern. The pattern design is based on the measurements taken from a person or a dress form, and it doesn't matter whether we alter the existing pattern or design it from scratch. The measurements taken properly will be crucial in any scenario. To show how measurements are fundamental to pattern design, I have pinned a mock-up made from the paper pattern details glued together. Explaining the rules of taking a particular measurement, I will be able to show which section of the pattern corresponds to this measurement. Measurements should be taken in life size without stretching or weakening the measuring tape. For the convenience of demonstration, the dress form being measured is lying on the table. We will create a bustier with cut-off cups. For such a design, other standards are needed than the ones for the construction of a garment with one-piece cups. In our case, several special measurements that have to do with the size of the cups are taken instead of the standard measurement bust circumference. If the bust circumference measurement is not required, we will first take the under bust circumference measurement. It is taken horizontally in parallel to the floor. Half of this measurement will correspond to the sum of the segments on the pattern along the under bust line. The under bust front measurement is taken along the under bust line from one side seam to the other. This additional measurement shows the position of the side seam along the under bust line, and a half of its value will correspond to the sum of the segments along the under bust line on the front details of the pattern. The waist circumference measurement is taken horizontally. Half of this amount will correspond to the sum of the segments of the pattern along the waistline. Waist front measurement is taken along the waistline from one side seam to another. This additional measurement indicates the position of the side seam at the waistline, and half of its value will correspond to the sum of the waistline segments on the front details of the pattern. Let's take special measurements for designing the pattern of the cup. To properly take these measurements, the client must be wearing a fine bra of the balconette style, with the cups lined up with underwires. A proper underwire I have attached to our dress form will help me show you how to take the measurements. For the vertical cup arc measurement, draw an imaginary vertical curved line from the top of the cup to the under bust line through the apex of the bust. The required point at the under bust line is marked by the position of the underwire. The value of this measurement, taken from a person, will be equal to the length of the seam of the bottom of the cup, plus the width of the top detail of the cup. For the horizontal cup arc measurement, position the measuring tape horizontally through the apex of the bust and measure the distance from the outer side of the underwire to the inner one. This measurement corresponds to the length of the horizontal seam on the cup. The arc length of cup insertion measurement. Taking this measurement from a person is a painstaking task, so you'd be better off not to do it. Instead, get an underwire that matches the size of the client, measure its length, and add 1 centimeter to its value. The resulting value will correspond to the length of the arc for the cup. The length of the underwire measurement is taken in life size. Take the underwire and measure its length. For the top cup arc length measurement, measure the distance between the ends of the underwire in the arc, stepping up 0.5 centimeter. This value equals the length of the upper edge of the cup. Corset center height measurement. This is the distance from the waistline to the lowest point of the neckline on the front. Model back height measurement is the height of the back detail at the center. This value can change as a result of improving the smoothness of the upper cutting line. This value also depends on the distance between the eyelets and on the technique you choose for working on this part. This is why this measurement is called model. Top edge length without cup measurement is the length of the top edge of the garment aside from the cup. Instead of taking this measurement, you can measure back below the bust. This is done on the back along the under bust line. On the pattern, a half of this value should be equal to the sum of segment lengths along the under bust line. It is not a good idea to rely on this measurement when measuring along the bust line, because the top line of the garment is often located below this measurement on the pattern. Model length of the side seam measurement. Normally, to get this measurement, you need to measure the figure on the side from the waist to the bust line and add 1 to 1.5 centimeters to this value. When adjusting the pattern, the height of the side seam can be changed to get a smoother top line. That's why this measurement is also called model. Waistline to the under bust measurement. The position of the waistline in relation to the under bust line depends on this measurement. We take it from the under bust line to the waistline. On the pattern, this measurement corresponds to the length of the vertical curve under the bust.